Picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
Yes, it's true. I'm back in my happy place. I am making an Enterprise. This is the Strange New Worlds Enterprise, the new release from round 2, and they're polar lights. And if it looks familiar, well, it ought to. A, it's an Enterprise, and B, it is a retooling of the similarly named Enterprise that was in the Discovery. The Piker Prize, as I called that one. This is the straight up Strange New Worlds Enterprise. Been wanting to get my hands on it. Been wanting to get to it. And when I did, I was greeted with a mixed bag. I'm not going to crack on round 2 or polar lights in this instance. But the casting or the injection of this kit, not great. There was a couple of spots where the plastic had not flowed all the way out into the recesses, so I got some mutant parts. And then there's the issue of the windows, and the windows on this thing are tiny at best. They're tiny when they start, and these ones were a little bit, I would say, closed over. Maybe the mold wasn't as clean as it could have been. I don't know. A little bit of flash, but when you are dealing with these tiny windows and you have too much flash, well, it closes in the window. So I opened up the box when I got it. I was looking at everything. I'm going, well, this is some work, and I don't know if I want to do it right away. Well, now is the time to do it because A, I need to update my template set for this kit. One for the windows and then one for the Aztek pattern. This has a different Aztek pattern than the Discovery Enterprise or the Discovery version of Enterprise. So we're going to be addressing that. I don't expect to finish this one in a week. I want this to take a while. So like I said, I was kind of disheartened when I saw that I had a couple of mutant parts in there, and I thought about, ringing up Steve saying, send me another kit, or calling Jamie, or doing whatever I needed to do to get replacements. And I went, wait a minute, do I have any more of the original kit in my stash? I bet you I have another Enterprise in my stash, and opened up the stash, and I did. Son of a gun. This is the original, the way this was presented, and I had this in my stash. So I said, I bet you I can replace those parts out with the old kit. And we'll get to that in a second. But when I opened up the box to that old kit, I remembered that I had the lighting kit inside it. So I was like, okay, well, the lighting kit is certainly still going to fit. Let's put that lighting kit in the new Strange New Worlds Enterprise. Now I know that we're going to have to change maybe the location of a couple of LEDs because of the increased number of windows on the saucer. So we might have to change the position of a couple of LEDs. But I bet you we can make this work. This thing has, it's got clear pieces for the parts that need to be lit up. It's got motors for the little inner domes on the nacelle. So that's going to be fun. So what I did is, well, come here. I'll come to the table. I'll show you. And here is this familiar box of parts. But what I wanted to show you was, this was, as an example, how my poor deflector dish came out. This was the new deflector dish, and I went, well, that's a shame. So I went back and I looked at the old deflector dish. It is the same part, and I had this old deflector dish, so I'm just going to do a one-for-one swap out of that. Now, the more problematic part is this. If you put the 3 parts of the secondary hull together, you will see that this piece here did not form the whole way. It did not form that back curve, and that made me sad. So I said, okay, well, I wonder what the original kit part looked like. Well, I have the original kit. It's the same part. This is what's missing. But in the retooling, they changed it. they may, instead of making this, well, I'll show you. It's an open part here because they improved this back piece to include this cargo door, and also just to add some more detailing underneath there. Well, I can't just glue that on top. That wouldn't be good. So what I think I'm going to do is take this part, which has the curve that I need, and I'm going to make this a donor. And it's going to, since this will still snap into the right side of the original part. See, it still goes together, still the same way. I checked it with a microscope. There are no details that are any different. It fits together the same way. It has all the same details. The windows are all the same. There is no difference between this. All of the panel lines are the same. The only difference is, in the old part, this was solid, whereas this was cut out. So there's no difference, particularly back in here. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to take this is the new part, keep that. We're going to keep as much of this as possible. We're going to cut it right at this line. We're going to cut it right there. We're going to cut it straight up. We're going to knock these windows, we're going to cut it just like that. And we're going to cut the same on this, just right at that same spot. And then we're going to cut this part off and donate it to the other. And all I'm going to have to do is trim out this bit. Actually, if I had a pencil. If I had a hammer, I'd hammer in the morning. What I need basically is this piece right here. Just from there back. And I'm going to cut it off of this donor piece, off of this old kit part, and replace it. There you can see what the difference is and what's missing. So that's going to solve that problem. We are going to go ahead and we are going to take the Proxon drill, and we're just going to open up these windows just a tiny bit, just a smidge, and then we will have our new saucer. And this will be a unique opportunity, I think, also to show people what the difference is between these two sets of parts. Obviously, the big difference here is all of these cutouts for the saucer rim windows. And these here. Now, remember, at one point, they were simply going to reissue this kit and give the saucer rim windows as decals. That was the talk at one point. I'm glad they didn't do that. I'm glad they retooled it so that we could have honest-to-goodness windows along here. And lighting those are going to be oh so much fun. But I think we can, if we do take our time and do this right, we will have something quite fun to put on the shelf. I'm going to try as much as I can to include navigation lights and things like that. The blue bulbs that we've got going down the nacelles, I don't know if I'm going to do. I don't know if I'm going to use those. I'm tempted, oh so tempted, to use this blue noodle light. Now, to make that work, I'm going to have to encase it in something stiffer, and I'm going to have to see if I can make it work with the circuit board. I think I should be able to, since it looks like the battery box is going to make it. It's what, 3 AA's. That's 4.5 volts to make that work. I think these will run on 4.5 volts just fine, and we'll see. We'll see if this is going to work. It's possible. I mean, it's worth trying, because I want to use these on the Cerritos as well, but I want to use these on the Nacelle because that'll give me a one long constant glow. So I've got a couple of extra of those to experiment on, but I think this is going to be a worthy way to spend the next couple of weeks. Okay, I'm ready to replace the spot or graft the new piece of hull back in. Now, the lovely thing about these window inserts is the window insert actually bridges the cut, so I can use that as a joining block and help give me more surface to glue in. So first thing I want to do is glue this window block in. Now I've got masks for this already. I'm not worried about getting these put in and then not being able to light those windows. So that's in. We're going to let that dry. Just takes a couple of seconds there. And I've checked all of my way around here that this piece is going to fit in around that and then around the shuttle bay. So what I need to do is put this in like this, and then just kind of hold it there. It's gonna match those two contours and be fine and lovely. I don't know whether I want to go ahead and just temporarily put these two halves together. That would give me even more of a framework with which to give a resting point. I want to make sure I don't get any glue on that surface, only here and on the window. I don't want to glue this back part together prematurely. See, if I do that and then lay this on it, that fills in that area quite nicely. But I don't want to glue it to either this or this. I don't want to glue this on camera either. It's not something I'm completely comfortable with, but what the hey. It's just going to be on here, around these windows, on this edge, and around the windows. Let's make sure we're on camera. Now, if these windows get frosted a little bit, I'm not concerned about that either. Okay, so I'm making sure it's not touching there. And then we can, if I had a rubber band handy, I could probably slap a rubber band around it, but for what I need it to do right now, it's doing it perfectly. Actually, I could put the shuttle bay doors in, and that would give me a wonderful surface for that to glue to. And I could, if I wanted to, glue these two pieces together. That wouldn't hurt anything, but I'm not gonna. Okay, that looks like it's a good repair job. Little bit of putty, no one will be the wiser. I won't tell anybody if you don't. Morning everybody, it's Tuesday and we're back at the Enterprise. First thing I wanted to do today was to check the lighting to make sure all of the LEDs lit. They did in fact do what they were supposed to do, and they do, and it's kind of disappointing. Not really, I understand it, but it's the fact that these are all just white bulbs. They're white bulbs. The front of the nacelles are warm white bulbs. Everything else is a cool white bulb, and I'm checking to make sure the motors are working, and they are. It's tough to see, but I can show you to them that they're both, and they're counter turning. They're not going both in the same direction, which is proper. But I was kind of hoping we'd get red bulbs and blue bulbs in there, but I know if you do that, then you have to start worrying about different resistor levels and things like that. And it's much easier to, I'm going to turn this off because that motor is making a noise. It is much easier just to put white and warm white bulbs and not have to worry about throwing different resistors at them to make them work. So, having learned that, now that I know those are working, I'm trying to do a little bit of a swap out here. Now, I would like very much to not use the single bulbs in the warp nacelles. I would like very much to use the blue cob lighting in the warp nacelles. Now, the problem with the blue cob lighting is it does need resistance. Well, it's meant to go at... Oh, these are not coming out. I don't want to have to yank this plug out just to get, or yank the socket out just to get the plug. There we go. Push all those back in. Where was I? I was talking about the cob lighting that I want to use. And the cob lighting is basically one long 1.5 bulb, 1.5 LED, volt LED. Come on, get the last one out, and then I can get, come on, there, gee. Okay, well, actually, the first thing I did was make this so that the board worked on a DC wall wart instead of the batteries, because batteries will drain, this thing will drain batteries, I have a feeling, pretty darn quickly. Now, this is a blue noodle light, and this is what I want to use in my warp nacelles. This is what it looks like with 1.5 volts on it. If I can ever get it to cooperate for the camera. This is what it's like with 1.5 volts on it. It's okay, it's not as bright as I want it to be, plus you can still see the individual bulbs. I want to see what happens when I put it on this board. Now this board, what I want to do is take the lights that are meant to go down the nacelles, which according to this are the J plug. The J plug goes all the way down to the nacelle. So let me pull the J plug out of here. And by coincidence, this is a J plug. Now, these are the bulbs. Let me get these up out of the way, get everything off the table. It's going to be easier if I can just do this without too many things stray in the way. Get that out of the way, get this out of the way. This is the plug for the board. Okay, the plug for the board is there. The J plug goes in here. That's the J plug. Now, it goes all the way out to this first bulb. If I cut this right about there, and I need some, how come I can never find my wire cutters? Here we go, some wire cutters there. Cut that off. Now, we are going to strip these. I want to see what happens when we touch. Sometimes when we touch, the voltage is too much. Let me see. We put that in. You've got power going to that J plug. Now, if I put a regular LED on that, something that I could sacrifice, it looks like that when we put power to it. Okay? Lights up. Now, what happens to the noodle light? We put this on the positive, and I'm learning that the end of the noodle light that's got a hole in the metal bit, that is the positive. When we put the negative to it, it lights up. It's not spectacular, but it lights up. So, having learned that bit of jiggery pokery, if we put, it's tough to do without soldering any of these connections. Okay, plus these noodle lights are the devil's own, they're just hard to work with. Okay. I might have to solder something up and then come back. What happens is I want to see if this is going to be bright enough. Now, I noticed when I put this resistor on it, and made it go to a straight where was that coming off of? That was coming off of this, the straight power, which was 5 volts. That's the difference. These are going down to less than 5 volts. When I did this, and I put the negative on the barrel, watch what happens here. This is straight 5 volts. Wowzer, much better. That's what I would much rather use. But something is happening to this board that it is being reduced to 3 volts. There's little resistors right there, and I'll bet you that's what's doing it. So, do I run basically it would call for running a second power wire just to these to get them to be bright enough to run inside the nacelles the way I want them to. I was hoping that the resistor that was on there would do the job. Let me see. Am I that smart? Am I that capable? Let me see. Those are 221 resistors on there, and these ones don't have any resistors at all. If I took the jacks that are going to J, which are these two here, if I replace those tiny resistors on this board with something like this, I wonder if I could get that result. Well, there's one way to find out, and it would involve unsoldering that resistor right there. My question is, could I put it back if I needed to? If I screwed up something horrible, could I put it back? That is the question. It's either that or else I run a parallel line of power just up to the blue part of the nacelles. We'll see which one of those jobs might be easier. Okay, I'm going to take a second here to show you something. This was also part of my mission statement for this build, and that was to show you the differences between this kit and the original Discovery Enterprise, and it's all in the details. These are the same parts, but this is the Discovery nacelle, inner board nacelle part. Lovely, good thing to look at, lovely to hold. But if you break it, consider it sold. That's the old line. But look at how much more detail there is on the... Now from here, there's no difference. But when you get particularly into this area, into the trench, you can see, if I look at the detail that's around there, that is not there in the Discovery nacelle. And I would have to believe that this was maybe this was, I don't know how this works. I don't know how, I know when they did the transition from the Smoothie 537 Enterprise, Motion Picture Enterprise, they actually went in and junked up the molds to add all that surface detail, which is why you can't get a Smoothie anymore, because they changed the molds, the tooling. I don't know whether they made new tooling or whether they just added to the tooling that they already had, more engraved to get some more highlights. But this looks like a new tooling, which, they say tooling is the most expensive part of any of the entire model production, scale model. Styrene injection production, the most expensive thing to do is the tooling. So it made me wonder why they went to what made them go to that level? Obviously they came out with some new reference, and when they went back to make the Enterprise for Strange New Worlds, they did change the CG model a bit And I'm sure this reflects those changes. But if you don't think you're getting a new model, if you think you're just getting a couple of extra windows on the saucer, you are mistaken, because they've got new tooling in this part as well, and the outboard side. I mean, all of this detail is new. I don't know how much I care for that. I think it's just detail for the sake of detail and doesn't really do anything. But you know, it's somebody's job to do that, so I'm gonna keep them employed. But that's, here we go with the Bassard cap on it. Now, looking at how those go together, the cap goes on it like that. There we go. That's it's a little redder than I would like. I mean, obviously, you know, I like it more orange, and of course we've got warm white LEDs to go inside there, and that's going to orange it up a bit. But it probably wouldn't hurt to take these interior pieces, the parts that are spinning inside, and I'll probably paint that with an orange clear, give it a shot of clear orange Tamiya, to just add some more warmth in there. And I will probably put some of the, maybe highlight a few of the veins in black, so that you'll see that detail spinning inside there. Something else to think about now. So I have been I took these parts outside and I put a primer coat on them. And now I think what I would like to do on the inside is I'm going to do that white layer of light blocking that I always seem to be resisting. I'm going to go ahead and do it this time. I'm going to use that Zenith white that I used on the Blue Midget, and I like so well. I'm going to try that out on this. I've just spent the last 10 minutes or so blocking out the little ovals on the back of the nacelle, and boy, looks about as much fun as it was to do. Push these down, and I'll put a coat of the white over top of that. I don't want to try to hit that with a big rattle can, because I'm afraid of it blowing some of those off. So I've got one more of those to do, and then if I can get a nice coat of that white in here, the nice reflective white, then we will be able to let that dry, and I think that would be a good amount of work for today. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the mess. It is Wednesday. It is coldish and rainy out, and no better way to spend that kind of a day than inside building a Starship. Now, I am putting in the saucer ring windows on the saucer, oddly enough, and it is a bit of a head scratcher, because you have to remember when you are doing this that the window pieces that they give you are angled. And they are angled in such a way to follow the contours of the saucer, which are very sharp. In this iteration of the Enterprise, they are very pronounced. And getting them to fit in these holes is a bit of a thing, because you need to clean them out a little bit. This goes back to what I was saying the other day about this particular kit being molded with a lot of flash, where the windows have to be opened up again, and that's part of it. But you have to remember that they have an angle to them, and that the flat, I don't even know if you can see that. There's a profile. If you put your goggles on, you can see the profile that it goes flat, and, well, let me get a pencil and a piece of paper out. That might be easier. Here, I'll just draw it on this. They are shaped like this. And you need to make sure that this flat part is what goes on the saucer, because you're putting them you're installing them upside down into the roof of the kit part. So you need to make sure that when you put them in, you are putting them in the correct angle up. Now, Round 2 / Polar Lights does this thing, which I really highly endorse, and they've been doing it forever. I don't know if other kit makers do it. I know that they should, and that is they will repeat the part number inside here. It's part of the tooling of the saucer part that tells you what part number goes in that opening. Again, a wonderful service, and something that I really appreciate when you have all of these windows which have very, very similar styles and very, very similar sizes and parts. As a matter of fact, I think they even, yeah, they repeat the numbers. I'm only doing the one side, so I haven't gotten to that yet. But this part number here is the same part number as over there, and back and forth. But it helps you immensely when it comes to adding these to the holes that they go in. So remember that you're putting your putting your part in upside down, that it fits into all of the holes with all of the openings. And then what I do is, since I like using PETG, yeah, I like using PETG. No, I like using MEK. I gotta remember my acronyms. A little bit of MEK, and then just touch it under the side there, and the capillary action will carry it underneath the part. So now I know that that part is glued in, and I can move to the next part. And the next part is 134. 134 on this rack right here. And you will note, if you are using the lighting kit from our Polar Lights, if you're using their lighting kit, you will have parts on your clear sprue left over, because the lighting kit includes red and blue clear molded pieces for the lighting on the nacelles. Like you will get, well, let me just show you here. You see the inner and outer, well, the outer caps, not the inner caps, the outer caps and the impulse engine covers. And then you will also see, if I can pull one out here, again, pardon the mess, things like the inserts for the nacelles that are blue. Those come with the lighting kit, so you will have those parts left over on your tree. You will not need them. You will still need the inner nacelles. I've painted those orange, and those will be the parts that spin on the motors. But you will have parts left over, so don't freak if you see that. So I'm going to continue putting these saucer windows in, and then we'll pick this back up. I've got the main parts of the nacelles ready to go. What I don't have is a satisfactory solution for the blue lights running down the length. I do want to use these noodle lights. Right now I'm just trying to figure out the best method of resisting those. So I've got all of the window inserts into the saucer, and I have to tell you, I don't mind telling you, you know, I'm not one to be shy about my opinions of things. I'm not the wildest, that's about as harsh as I get. I am not the wildest fan of these big inserts. There's one here, and then there's the one that goes on the top. I think those could have been cut into smaller pieces. That you just have to do so many gymnastics to get it, to make sure that it's fitting in on the inside contours. They could have cut that into at least two pieces, one there, and then one for the bridge insert. You never feel like you're getting it up tight enough. So what I can do is, only thing I can do is I push it in there as hard as I can, making sure that all of the windows are poked through, and then I use a little bit of the MEK and let the capillary action come in behind there and glue it in. I put a little bit of it in place before I set it down, but there really isn't a lot you can do. I can't imagine as a child, if I were to use the old methods of childhood of, you know, putting Kester's glue in there and squeezing it, whether that would have been just an awful mess. But they're in. We're going to let them dry. I've got the colored impulse pieces put in. These were also in the lighting kit. And we're just going to let these sit. Now, what I need to do as far as my masking set is I need to make new masks for all of these room windows. And the way they've got, and this is changing gears a bit, the way they've got the inserts set for the windows and the marker lights really makes it almost impossible, if not virtually impossible, to make those blink. Only because it's one piece of plastic and you can't put a blinking LED up to it without end up blinking all of these windows at the same time. So we're not going to make them blink. But before I close this up, I am going to put some clear, again, in camera, I am going to put some clear Tamiya's on the area where that light would come out, so that it would come out green when white lights are shining on it. So we got that kind of stuff to do. Top and bottom, all of our glass is in. The next thing to do, I see again, this is the blue piece that is in the lighting kit. I've got to put the last bits to put in are these accent lights. Now, the problem that I'm going to have is, since I am using a white, or since I'm not using a white LED to light up the inside of the nacelle, is that these lights, if they come out at all, are going to end up coming out blue instead of white, because I'm putting a blue light in here. So I'll be rightfully scorned for that, but I'd rather do that than try to add some additional white bulbs there. Well, the day has taken a change for the pleasant. Gone are the tornado warnings and everything else we had going on this morning. The sun is actually out. You may be able to see the sunshine on the desk right there. And I'm to that point, excuse me, where I want to use some 1-minute epoxy with the syringe. But because I have a precious few of these guys, I wish you could just buy these by the box load. I've got a couple of things set up that I'm ready to epoxy, or ready to use the 1-minute epoxy on, but I kind of have to get them all staged and ready, because once you put the nozzle on and the needle on this, and you start to squeeze it, that's it. You can't reuse that needle. So we're going to pull this off. We're going to do a little bit of cleanup here. Let me get a X-Acto. Do a little bit of cleanup on the epoxy syringe. And then we're going to slide the needle in. What's going to happen is I want to seat both of these motors in the front of the nacelles. Now, this holds the motor and the ring of lights in the right position. I want to make sure, what I want to do really is put some epoxy back behind there so that I can seat this in, stick a rubber band around it, get it secured, and then move to the next one and get them both seated. That's what I want to do. And then once those are in, then I can kind of pull those wires down the pylon here. And then once those are done and secure and out of the way, I can finally figure out what I'm going to do with the blue lighting. Okay, on a nice hopeful note to finish out the day, this is where we are. I've got the engine nacelle, all the workings epoxied in. And when I hit the on button, you get something that looks like that. That's nice and orange. I don't think I'm going to make any accent marks on the inside. I was thinking of possibly drawing in a line or two on the inner turning dome. I don't think that's going to be necessary. I see the molded in lines are doing the job they're supposed to do. Nice and quiet. And if we put Let's see if this is the outside one. That goes over top of it from the outside, ironically. Let's double check here. I might have some pins that need to be cleaned up, but it's looking pretty good. Welcome back, everybody. It's Thursday. It's the gateway to the weekend. Yay! And we are continuing work on the Strange New Worlds Enterprise. Now, I have decided we're going to split this up. This is obviously not going to be finished this week, but what I'd like to do is, if I can get everything built this week and then spend next week painting it, I think that'll be a good division of labor. So what I've done this morning, and I am following the rule book as much as possible, and you know how much that I chafe against something like that, but I am building this with the round 2 light kit. Now, the round 2 light kit is fine for what it is. I think to me, it's like building it with training wheels that you can't take off. But that's me. I mean, not everybody is comfortable with lighting. And for that, this is why this is designed. It's not the way I would have done it. You know, if I had starting from the ground up and I'm going to light this thing, not the way I would have done it. However, that's not the mission statement. To me, the mission statement is we're going to build this with the prescribed lighting kit. So here is what the inside of the bottom of the saucer looks like if you follow their recommendations. Now, they don't say to tape down the wiring. That's me. But this is the G circuit. This is the G circuit coming out. It lights up both of the impulse engines, goes around and lights, shoots light out towards the outer perimeter of the saucer. Now, I'll tell you that in between this version of, between the original version of the Enterprise, or the Discovery version, and this version, that some of the windows have changed in the saucer. Now, you know about all these new ones that are up front, but these ones here are closed. Some of these are closed off, and you can see on the saucer, on the indent of the piece, where they've gone back and retooled the mold there, or closed some of those up. Like these two windows here, there originally was a much larger bank of them. Anyway, things like that mean that there are lights shining back here that don't have a lot of windows to go to, and there are lights up here, or windows up here, that maybe could have used more windows or more lighting aimed towards them. So we have that to live with. Well, good morning, everybody. How you doing? It's Thursday. It's the gateway to the weekend. I've decided, made an executive decision that I am going to break this build up into 2 chapters. This week, if I can get all the building done, I'll be happy. And then that will leave next week for the for the painting. I am using this is my mission statement for this build, is that I am using the light kit that round 2 provides for the build. And I will tell you, it's not exactly how I would have done it. It's good enough for somebody who's not comfortable with lighting. If they want to use this light kit, they certainly can. I will tell you, it's got some flaws in it. First of all, it is overly wired. I mean, what I'm saying when I say it's overly wired, I am saying that the wiring between the bulbs it's too long, and it makes it harder to actually get the bulbs in place than it would if they had more accurately measured how much wire you actually needed between each bulb. That might have helped it go a lot easier, but you find yourself having to coil up wires or bunch up wires and tape them down, and it's not as neat a job as it would have been had you wired them yourselves, probably. Plus, I don't know if I had to use bulbs this big. I probably would have used more bulbs and smaller bulbs, but again, this is their prepackaged light kit. This is how they intend for you to wire your, or use the the lighting that comes with it. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the, let's see, I'm going to plug, yeah, let me set up the saucer and kind of get it together and show you how much lighting you're actually going to see by the time it's all done. Now, as I said yesterday, I am not using the battery pack that comes with this. I am going to be wiring this up to a 5.5 volt USB jack, and I just want to make sure everybody's happy here now. There we go. I gotta turn this overhead light off as well. Okay, you can see, of course you can see the impulse there, kind of pinkish, not as orange as I would like, and you can see that it's lighting up these. It's lighting them up okay. Again, nothing spectacular, but I would have gone with 9 volts and more power and brighter lights, but this is their lighting kit. It does the bare minimum of what it's supposed to do. So one thing I do notice is that you're going to see straight in there. You're going to need to block something from the inside to block that dome. I know Paul makes a bridge insert. I didn't have time to get one from Paul for this build. If I ever do another one, I probably will. I recommend it if for no other reason than to block up those holes. But you're seeing all the windows. They all look good, and maybe it's me, because there's nothing wrong with these lights or these windows. I have a tendency to make my windows overly bright when I'm lighting a ship, and maybe that's something I need to work on personally so that they're not so bright. But that's how those look in the saucer. Once I get these couple of details figured out, I can get the saucer ready to close up today. Go ahead and unplug that. And that actually joins these guys again, which I have been bringing through. This is F. If I plug F into the F hole, and then bring that out to my power source. You can see how bright those are and what they'll look like there, because I guess just because they're closer to the windows, but that's how everything plugs in. And the ones from this side plug in to the ones from that side and kind of join everything together. Okay, kids, I'm happy to announce we have a solution. We have something that will work. Yay! It only took me a couple of days to try to figure this out. And working with what I had on hand now, it is possible to order anything under the sun. People always say, well, why don't you just go get that? Because generally, by the time you've seen the video, I've already finished the model. So, here's what I'm doing. I'm basically substituting, getting rid of this. This is what they would have you use inside of the nacelle to light up the blue inserts. This is what I am choosing to use instead. It is a blue noodle light. My problem was in getting the right amount of voltage to that. These noodle lights are very picky. I cannot put 3 volts into that without it going nuts, without it overheating. This wants to be 1.5 volts. And the board, as it's coming out, this board here is giving me 5 volts. So I need to have, I didn't want to have to run a separate set of power wires. I could have used this on a 9 volt battery and put a 9 volt resistor on it, and it would have made it probably work. It probably would have been a lot brighter, but it would have required a second separate power source. And that's just too much complication for this little kit. On this timeline, if I had more time and money to spend on it, maybe. But what I wanted to do was something that I could use the board that I've already got. Now what I had to do to make this work is I had to remove the little resistors that came on this board, jumper them together, basically short out that connection so that I could bring this up to this resistor, which is the one I wanted to use. I couldn't add this resistor to that board. It just was too big. It's not delicate enough. I mean, this is, if I can grab it, see this thing right here? See that little thing on my finger? That's the resistor I had to remove. And if you think I have anything like that around here to replace it, you're nuts. Here is that tiny resistor. So, replacing that resistor with this big one, I basically shorted out that connection on the board, and then I can bring this up into the nacelle. Now you say that's not going to hold up, and I'm going to say, well, I've already had it lit for about 20 minutes, half an hour here, so I know I've got it burned in. Nothing is heating, nothing is overheating. I know that's going to work. But what you're saying is it needs to have some structure, and I agree. That's why I have this, I know, ugly American plastic drinking straw. They're not going anywhere here. So what we're going to do is we are going to basically take something like this, and I've taken this off backwards, so I have to, if I have to unsolder this again, I will. What happens is that you run this down the length of the straw, and then you set the straw here, and then you run your LED. I'll do it, and then I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, here's what it looks like inside the straw. And when I put this in the holders, or in the little standoffs for the LEDs, it fits like this. Now I need to make sure that it's, even though these noodles are pretty good at lighting all the way around, there is a front and a back to them. So I want to make sure, make sure the front is facing out, obviously. When it's run at these lower voltages, it's a lot more apparent. When you run it at the high voltage, or the brighter it is, you don't really notice the front and back. So I need to put a little dollop of epoxy into both ends of this straw to kind of lock it in place. But when you turn it this way, you get a nice even light through all of that. That is much superior to the spotty individual LEDs. So all I gotta do is do this again for the other one. Yay! Okay, it's an immutable law of nature. Write this down if you want. This is your wisdom for today. It's an immutable law of nature that it never takes as long to do the second one as it takes to do the first one. The first one is where all of the brain work and all of the prototyping and all of that head scratching goes into it, and the second one you just whips right up. So having both of these now, I can glue them down. Well, actually now I can get the epoxy out and glue the ends of these. I was waiting to do that until I had enough stuff to do to make it worth whipping up the epoxy. But now I can epoxy both ends of these tubes, and then epoxy the tubes into the nacelles. Okay, we've got a vibration noise. I don't know how much we can ever get rid of that. What happens is this motor right here is making a noise, and because I've got it epoxied to the rest of the ship, it is vibrating with it. Unless you can find a way for it to sit in isolation, it's always going to be that way. You really want to nail that motor down so that it doesn't, go wandering on you. But at the same time, when you do that, you risk it passing the vibration on to the rest of the kit. Now, this is, I'm just cleaning up this seam here because I've gotten a little bit of epoxy down into this seam, and this is the last thing to do today, at least on both of these engines, is I want to get the sides of the nacelles glued to each other. Alrighty, I've got the nacelles halves left and right joined up. I've got them glue in there. I've got it drying or curing. I've got clamps galore on this. Got the second one over here. There's one job I can do at the end of this day. It's getting time to close up shop. There's one last thing I can do today, and that is to join the top and the bottom of the saucer together. That's one big thing that I would really like to have curing all night long. So this is ready to go. I've put a white diffuser over the center there, top and bottom. I'm going to kind of skip the decals that come with this. I've got a diffuser over the inside of the dome there. I've got my clears painted on the running lights. Going to join these two halves together, and then we're going to get out the MEK and the big brush and get ready for all of these clamps. I'm going to go ahead and get them out on the table now. So all of these clamps are ready to do their job. And I'm cleaning off this table because I'm going to need some room here to spread out in a second. Let's move this out of the way. I'm going to need this brush, and I'm going to need this and every clamp that I've got. Go ahead and pour them out. And let's do this last thing. Okay, that's all the clamps. That's all the saucer. We're going to let that sit up overnight. And then we're going to hopefully finish up the major construction tomorrow. Heidi ho, friends and neighbors. How you doing? It's Friday. It's the last work day of the week. And it'll be the last work day for the Strange New Worlds Enterprise. I'm just doing a little bit of tidying up here. Hope you don't mind. This morning I took all the clamps off of the saucer. We're good to go there. I think we're looking real good for painting next week. I've taken all of the clamps and rubber bands and other support structures off of the nacelles, and they are good to go. I think what I'd like to do is to pry this off. I think maybe we are a little too early on this. Now I had it on there so that I could verify the spin, but I think we can remove that, and I just need to get underneath it so I can pry it. I've gone ahead and I've got these two halves temporarily put back together, and you can see the mess of wiring that's coming out of the front. That all has to get plugged in to the board, and then the board has to be shoved back into there, so that's going to be fun. I think what I'd like to do, I need to take these masks that I put on this piece. I put them on there just because I had to put that window in early to heal up that piece of the hull. Now I can take these off, and there we go. I've got to paint the hangar deck piece, which for some reason, well, I know why they gave it to us in clear. It's so we can light these back windows. But the hangar deck itself doesn't need to be clear. So that needs to go in, and then this piece needs to go on, and then we can glue all of this up. And once we've glued all of that up, that'll be great. Then we'll be ready to go. I will wire everything. I don't think I'm going to connect the saucer and the neck together. I might do it just temporarily, but I don't want to join them permanently. I don't want to glue them, certainly, because it's going to be easier to paint them separately and then re-glue them. So I will put it together just for the sake of having something fun to show at the end of the day. But we will leave those off until we've painted. Okay, we're finishing up construction for today. I'm not going to get the base wired in exactly because I'm going to need to remove it from the base off and on while I'm painting it. So what I've done is I've got it ready to a point where this base can come off. I just want to put it up on the base now to show you kind of how it's looking. Now I haven't got obviously don't have the saucer attached, so let's do that just for purposes of demonstration. We're not going to glue this on yet. Okay, now you can hear the motors. You don't see anything spinning because I don't have those on there. But we have lit saucer. We've got the blue lights in the nacelles, which to me was the big deal. We've got blue lights on that nacelle. We've got, ooh, I can see some light blocking that needs to be painted here. But we've got impulse engines. We've got windows lit. We've got front of the nacelles lit. We've got them turning. Like I said, you can hear that. And we've got windows around the rim of the saucer. Now we're probably not going to see too many saucer windows until it gets really dark. See, we can barely see these because it's not really there. You can see them, but the wiring harness for this isn't really designed for those front windows. But we can see everything going on through here, even though I have all those wires jammed in there. Apparently there's still light getting out around them. These guys are lit. We've got a very faint red, a very faint green there. This is lit, which is nice. Of course, we've got the bridge lit, but it's diffused. Yeah. Well, my friends, that's it. That's where we're going to stop for this week. We are ready for painting next time. We've got all of the body construction done. I'm going to maybe reinforce some of the joints with a little bit of epoxy over the weekend. I am going to maybe do a little bit of sanding, some seam work. And then next week we will spend our time wisely, I hope. We will spend our time painting. This has a different paint scheme than the Discovery version of the Enterprise. So we're going to more or less, we're going to take some of the stuff that still applies in that painting template set, and then we're going to use that, but we're going to come up with a new, I believe we're going to come up with a new Aztek pattern for this particular version of the Enterprise. So until, see, I've got the dish taken back off. Until next time, y'all be safe, be smart, be good to each other. Be back next week.